Time for us to take a stand and say we will no longer turn a deaf ear or blind eye to some of the things that are creating problems in our world. That's why we're here today. This is something that I would like to see grow. I am so honored to be here today because if you look out in the crowd, we have youth here, law enforcement, parents, community groups, and that's what it's all about. It's really a collaborative effort to get things done. We've always had these groups in the past. We've always had law enforcement arresting more people and seizing more drugs, and yet we still had a drug problem. We've always had educators in schools teaching kids more about the peril of drugs, and yet we had a drug problem. We had community groups trying to raise their families and have drug-free communities, and yet we still have a drug problem. Those are the things we always had, but what we did not have was collaboration and coordination of efforts. This type of event represents the collaboration and coordinating of efforts that is necessary to get things accomplished, and that's what this is all about. I think that this is important that we also understand a couple other things. Messages in the media and the music we hear play a vital part in people's opinions. It's real important to understand that for too long we have allowed the media, I'm talking about print, radio, TV, to send the wrong messages to our youth. I commend Mr. Coleman and his band and others who have taken a stance to tell musicians it's time for us to get responsible with the messages we send to our youth. I think it's real important for us all to understand that we need to engage the media and make them responsible for the messages they send to our youth. We just launched a partnership for Drug-Free Michigan, and in its most simplistic form we could say that's an anti-drug media campaign. But it's much more than that. It's basically three things. Number one, it's a recognition. Number two, it's an attempt. And number three, it's a hope. The recognition is the fact that we have allowed the media and the movies and music to influence us too much. It's also a recognition that we have not channeled those forces and placed them in the right direction all the time. Secondly, it's an attempt. It's an attempt now to get those forces moving together. It's an attempt now to make them more responsible. It's an attempt to recapture the imagination of our youth that we have let get away from them. It's an attempt to guide our youth out of the forest that we've allowed them to fall into without any direction. And third and finally, the Partnership for Drug-Free Michigan is a hope. It's a hope that we can change people's attitudes and change people's opinions using those same things we've allowed to use to change their attitudes, opinions in a negative way. So it's a recognition, an attempt, and a hope, because if you change people's attitudes and opinions, you eventually change their behavior. The behavior we're attempting to change is the fact that it's okay to do drugs. This type of event shows us that you can have fun without doing drugs. It shows us that you can be productive and be the best you can be without doing drugs. It shows us that you can be part of the solution to society's problems as opposed to being part of the problems without doing drugs. Now, this is an event that's the first that's been done here in Ann Arbor. Once again, I commend everyone for coming together doing this. But what do we really want to show here? What I think, and what I hope we all want to show, is history show a couple of things about what we did here today. I would like history to show that on